Hey everybody, Mega Ruler 31 back here for FSI DFS. Welcome to our 300th MLB video. It's over the last 3 years we've accumulated that many, and it's a cool milestone. But I think once we hit 1,000, if we keep on cranking out content over the next 3 or 4 years, we should get there. So pretty exciting stuff. And what else is exciting is that FSI team has talked, and we are going to get back to start posting these videos, the audio, as podcast. We started doing that before COVID, and then COVID hit, and there were no slates to cover, so it kind of fell by the wayside. And we really invested our effort in trying to get our YouTube channel up and off the ground, and that's been pretty successful. So if you don't have time to watch us in the next couple of days, you should have an opportunity to hear us. So we'll venture back into that and see where it can go. So you can catch us on Apple or Spotify, all the different ones, Google, the ones that carry podcasts as usual. We'll have the full list once it's up and ready to go. So look for that. So I would like to thank all of you who joined me on the YFC channel yesterday with Pete Cole. That went really, really well. Fun time breaking down Slate with an old friend. I'll have to have him over to my house sometime, and we'll break down together on this channel. And I think it's a really beautiful thing. Like I said in the post yesterday, if you read the video, that it's a good thing in this industry when contributors can come together and work together instead of trying to tear each other down, because we all work so hard to study these slates and to be able to stay on top of like a sport that goes for like 180, 190 days. It's grind, and you really have to appreciate people that are out there doing it, that's putting in the time. And I know Pete does that, and he knows that I do that, and McKinley too, for our channel. Definitely working hard every single day to try to help you guys out. And I think when you come together and work together, your ideas and share, I think it's a really nice thing. So appreciate you guys supporting that yesterday. Speaking of McKinley, he is still with us. He just had some time away with his family. He was kind of off the grid, so away from DFS. So if you want to help McKinley, he asked me yesterday what has happened in DFS in the last 4 days, because he hasn't been really able to keep track. So if you want to post some like highlights for him in the comments, I tried to catch him up. It was pretty much like this: last couple of days, the chalk pitchers we thought would do really good didn't work out. Watch the weather, because Chris Wright was doing really well, and then all of a sudden the rain came in Atlanta and he's out of the game, and that ended that line. And then like watch out, because people that should be hitting, like Toronto, have gone completely quiet, and Cleveland's been pretty quiet also. And out of nowhere, like Detroit's won like 3 straight games. They put up 11 yesterday, and Flexen had a great game, and Seattle bats came alive against a pitcher that they shouldn't have hit. So it's Pittsburgh beat Yankees last night, and I think Quantrill was like the highest scoring pitcher for Pittsburgh on the slate. So it's July, it's baseball. You have weather, you have heat, you have getting into the dog days of summer, so anything can happen. So, and that's why we love this sport. So anyways, today's slate, there's 2 of them. There's an early and there's the main. So if you're here for the main slate, pause the video right here, look down in the comments, and I'll tell you exactly when to jump ahead to when I start talking about the main slate. So going to cover the early slate now. 4 games, no weather concerns, looks good. First game, we have Cleveland Guardians and Shane Bieber against Michael Pineda and the Detroit Tigers. Pineda is probably the only fade that I really wouldn't consider playing on this slate, but how things have been going recently, he might be the highest scoring pitcher, so who knows. But I think most likely he's the lowest scoring one. Shane Bieber on the other side, I think between Bieber and Burns, it's going to be your SP1 on DraftKings and FanDuel. There's a significant savings to drop down to Bieber, especially on FanDuel. If you want to play both of them, I think that's definitely possible in the context of the slate. You can find enough value to do that. So you'll have to see how you want to go with your builds there. Cleveland bats, I think, make a GPP. They've been kind of quiet. Naylor has been out of the lineup last couple of days with back spasms. We'll see if he's back in today. Definitely like him, a lefty there. So we'll have to see how that lineup comes out. Detroit, I think, just as a leverage stack against people playing Bieber. People might chase him after yesterday. I always think Riley Green, who is a really good leadoff guy here. He showed a lot of power in the minors, so it's going to come eventually. But he's definitely someone to look at there. And then I wouldn't even know how to stack this team beyond him, but whoever did it yesterday, did well. So, but I don't think I'm going too well again for that one today. Chicago Cubs and Milwaukee Brewers. Cubs have the lowest total on the slate up against Corbin Burns at 2.9. Burns is a negative 239 favorite here. So I think he's definitely your SP1. Don't overthink it. Cubs strike out. Burns has really starting to come into his own and looks like one of the top pitchers in MLB again. So definitely like him here against the Cubs. Again, if you need to save money on FanDuel, I'm okay if you drop down a Beaver, but I think Burns is definitely the clear-cut choice here, which is nice to actually have some aces after we were like getting the back end of the rotation the last couple of days and really trying to split hairs to figure out who we wanted to start. And all the good pitchers are on like weird slates like Turbo or like in between afternoon games that weren't even covered on slates. So just a little bit frustrating sometimes. Adrian Sampson, I think, is he's okay, but risky here against Milwaukee. Milwaukee can be boomer bust, but I think that definitely probably my favorite top stack here against them. Love the lefties again. Yelich, Tellez had another home run last night. He's just on fire. Wong is getting priced up again, but he's definitely decent there. You can throw Adames and McCutcheon in or drop down to like Narvaez, Jace Peterson is good against. So if you want to do like a little wraparound stack thing, like Narvaez, Peterson, skip Jonathan Davis, who's the righty, Yelich, and then skip Adames and Tellez, that works too. So focusing on the lefties here, but I could throw some of the righties in to make the stack work, especially Adames, who seems to hit both, and the Cubs bullpen, you know what you're going to get there. So the righties might come into a factor when we get to that point. Cubs on the other side, I think they're just a leverage stack against probably one of the best pitchers. Definitely looking at some of the lefties like Ortega, Happ, Suzuki's back, but he's probably going to strike out against. There's not really a ton of lefties I like here. Maybe some one-offs, like I said, like Riley Green for Detroit. Like if I take like Happ and Ortega, but I don't think I'm really chancing against him. Especially, it's a small slate. I know you need to take chances some places, so maybe there's just some of the guys to look at, and maybe there's a Cubs stack is the winning one today. If Burns gets a blister or something after like 10 pitches and has to go out. So you never know, but I think most likely Burns dominates them. Twins and White Sox, really nice total here on both sides. Joe Ryan and Lance Lynn. You've got a couple decent pitchers who've had some bumpy roads. Lynn's coming back from being out. Ryan on the other side has been consistently inconsistent this season. So either one could have a good day, either offense could have a good day. So I really don't know which way to go on this one. Balloon blowing across the field, 11 miles per hour, 73 degrees, maybe a 10% chance of precipitation, but I think that's perfectly fine. I don't think it rains at all. It should be a pretty nice day for baseball in Chicago. So with the wind not being a factor, if it changes and blows out, then obviously you're going to downgrade the pitchers and upgrade the hitters here. If I had to pick between these two guys, I'd probably go with Lynn because you're saving $1,000. And just looking at the BVP with Correa and Kepler, they in like I think like 15 to 20 at bats, like have very few hits. I think Correa has 0 and Kepler maybe has like 1 or vice versa. So I think just with Lance Lynn's history against them, and again, he might have been in better form at that point, but he's starting to get back to it after his rehab starts. So I'm leaning Lynn as my favorite in the mid range here. Ryan, I think, is in play too. It all depends on the White Sox lineup. Jimenez should be back in, but he's batting 6th. I don't know how well he's going to do, if there's going to be any rust or anything on him. So we'll just have to see. But I think the White Sox would be my second favorite stack. And then Minnesota would be the third. So Milwaukee still being the clear top one. Finally, we have Toronto and the Athletics. For some reason, Oakland has figured out to hit recently. Berrios has struggled, but I think this is the get right spot for him. I think he's still a GPP because we're just in case like Oakland continues to figure out that they are Major League Baseball players and start to play like them, like Detroit did yesterday. We'll have to see. So Toronto just really hasn't put up a lot of, the wind's blowing out again, but it's been blowing out the last couple of days. It really hasn't aided them. So Toronto's my top GPP stack just because I don't know if it's the ballpark or the West Coast swing or like what's going on here, but they just have not been hitting like they used to. So Toronto, definitely top GPP stack. And Kaprelian, not interested in, but I think if you want to take a chance on anybody cheap as a YOLO dart, potentially, he's been pitching better recently. And like I said, Toronto's been struggling. He's got the park upgrade. So maybe I'll take a shot with him at one line at 5-5. And then maybe like stack the White Sox in Minnesota game, which has a nice high total there. So maybe that's one of my plays with, either Burns or Bieber as my pitcher. So that might work out. Berrios, like I said, you could potentially take a shot on him in GPPs, and it should be a dream matchup against the A's, but we'll just have to see if it comes to fruition. So let's show you these lines and we'll get on to the main slate. So like I said, Burns, Bieber, if you have the money to pay up, or Lynn, if you're down. I'm taking the left-handed Brewers here. Adames, I'm okay putting in there if you can't afford him and have another favorite one-off play. I'm fine if you want to do that. If you want to pay down at like for Jace Peterson at like third base, that's cool. But I'm taking like some cheap guys here like Sheets, Straw, or Bolts as like an outfield punt. Probably might punt catcher too, and that gives me enough to pay up for both of them. If not, if I'm taking Lynn, then it gives me a decent chance to fill in with like all White Sox, probably do like Makata here and get like one of the outfielders, and then I might just have to punt catcher or figure out who works for that. On FanDuel, Burns or Bieber. If I take Burns, I it's going to have to pay down for some of the ones, so it's going to be like Juan. It's going to be cheaper. I can't get J-Ron in my Cleveland stack that I want here. I have to pay down there and maybe take somebody cheaper. But if I do take Bieber, who saves me about like $1,000, I can probably get J-Rom in there. I might be able to get Adames in here, and then I just have to punt my utility. Probably take cheap guy like Juan over Reyes, saves me a little bit of money. So that's where I'm looking to build on FanDuel. On DK for GPP, like I said, I'm taking Berrios. And then which of these two pitchers you think? I think I'm leaning Lynn again here as my SP2. Taking the Blue Jays, so Kirk, Tapia, and then I think I'm going to stack Cleveland here. So give me Gimenez, J-Rom, and Quan, and then decide if you want to pay up for Vlad or if you want to go cheaper at first base. If you want to take Springer in the outfield, it gives you a lot of options of who you can fill in these ones. Or you can go, depending on which pitcher you can take White Sox guys there. You can take Minnesota guys there if you go with Ryan. So it opens up a lot of things. I guess if you really wanted to get crazy, you could probably go with the A's, which I didn't even put them on there, so it should be here because there are a really cheap stack. Yeah, a decent one to look at there. And then the bottom, Berrios, I think I'm just taking his pitcher, and then I'm going to stack the Blue Jays, and I can get the White Sox in with them there. It makes a really nice stack. So of course you can go with Ryan or Lynn there also for your GPP pitcher. I would not go Kaprelian on FanDuel, but if you want to go Kaprelian up in GPP and go off of Berrios there, because I wouldn't play both pitchers in the same game unless you really think that it's going to be like a really, really, really low scoring game. But I think he should open up more. Obviously, I wouldn't play the Blue Jays in the stack, but I think, like you said, if you play like Burns or Bieber with Kaprelian, and then you could probably stack the high total White Sox Minnesota game and get all the bats you want. So that takes care of the early slate. Now let's look at the main slate. So we have 8 games, which is about perfect for the size of the slate. You want 3 games that have weather concerns. We'll have to keep an eye on it. I think the worst one looks like the Orioles and the Rangers. Right now it's about a 60% chance of rain, so we'll see if they can get that one in okay. Yankees and Pittsburgh, looks like a lot of rain early on, but they might just start the game at 8 o'clock and be perfectly fine. It might just be a little bit wet and starting to dry up. And for Atlanta, you always have pop-up storms this time of year. I think Atlanta from Memorial Day to Labor Day could potentially yellow every single day, but it looks like, again, afternoon storms in the heat of the day, burning off by the end of the day, 89 degrees and wind blowing out a little bit, 4 miles per hour by the time we hit game time. So at first we have the Nationals and we have the Phillies. We have Josiah Gray and Aaron Nola. Aaron Nola by far is going to be the top pitcher on the slate. It's nice to have an ace on the main slate again. So just lock him in as your SP1. Don't overthink it. Gray on the other side, a little expensive at 8-2. He's been decent this season. Philly, it all depends on the lineup. Like Harper's out of there, but Schwarber's been decent. Hall's been a really good call up there, hitting fourth. Castellanos, even though he's righty, he's been doing better recently. Hoskins been on a tear. I mean, he didn't have a home run yesterday, but he's been putting up. So I think he's hit 3 in the last 6 games. So see if Gregorius is back in there. So there's maybe do a wraparound with some of the cheaper lefties on the bottom. So definitely like Philadelphia. I think they're more of a GPP because I really like the lefties here and I have some respect for Gray. Texas on the other side here against, or Washington on the other side here against Nola, I think it's just probably just a leverage stack. They're very banged up. Soto potentially is not in the lineup. Cruz got scratched last night. So I really have little interest in Washington today. Looks like the wind's going to be blowing in too. So that's going to help a bit also. Okay, so the rain game potentially is going to be Glenn Otto and Spencer Walken. These pitchers are both fades. Really bad, like both offenses here. The Rangers, I can't put it as a cheap stack just because they have some very expensive pieces. So if you want to take some one-offs like Smith and Seager with the splits advantage, I mean, like maybe play the top 3. Calhoun's usually not that bad. He's usually a 2K guy. He's up to like 3.9 now. Nate Lowe, same thing. Like these guys are really priced up. So like if Ledley Tavares like leads off or something at 2K and like Josh Smith gets the day off, then I mean, that'd be pretty cool. So I think I might hunt for like one-off cheapies here, or I just have to really full stack them in a GPP. Baltimore on the other side, I absolutely love this. I think that they will like smash Otto. McKinley has often talked about stacking against Otto as one of his favorite pitchers to stack against, and it's worked out well most of the season. So I know Mullins is expensively enough. If you want to skip over him, that's fine. Righties or lefties, it doesn't matter. He's pretty much neutral splits pitcher. So, and you have some switch hitters too, and like Santander and Rushman. So you can make a nice stack. Hayes is banged up, and I think one of the other outfielders might be too. The one that I'm really focusing on is, and hopefully he's batting in like the more in the middle of the order with injuries, is Arezua. He's third base and shortstop eligible here on DK. He's only like 2.5. So that's a really reasonable price for him. So definitely like that. And if he's in the lineup, definitely somebody that's going to save you some money and sometimes a hard to fill position. Okay, moving on, we have the Yankees and the Pirates, Severino and Keller. Severino is decent, but the Pirates could probably throw out like a strong left-handed lineup. You see Gamble in there, Vogelbach, he had a home run yesterday, Chishugo, Cruz is a lefty, Van Meter, I mean, Perez, like you might only have, Kebian Hayes might be the only right-handed batter in this whole lineup. So Severino, I think out of all of the high price pitchers is probably last. He'd be the top medium price one if White doesn't pitch for the Dodgers, and it's Gosling, who I've seen on some sites, but I do think it's gonna be White after he got bumped yesterday. It wasn't injury or anything. They were just trying to space out their pitching rotation. So Keller on the other side, he's okay. And make sure it's Keller you're looking at and not B Keller from Kansas City, because he's not okay. He's probably the biggest fade on the slate. Urinas probably is against Dodgers, but he'd be second biggest. So Mitch Keller, I think potentially is a decent cheap one, but there is one cheap guy that is completely egregiously underpriced on both sides. So I don't think he'll get much ownership. And we did see the Yankees get shut down. The ballpark does help. So we'll also have to see if the weather helps with run suppression. Also, if it's going to be a little bit wet and cooler than a normal hot day with the wind blowing out in Pittsburgh. So the Yankees, I think, are back as a stack. I mean, the pitcher they're up against yesterday was a guy that threw a certain type of pitch that some of them just really weren't good at. It was really tough against lefties. So, but I think they'll fare better today. So I think, they'll all be back in play as stacked, but I like the Dodgers and Houston better than that. Pittsburgh is a leverage stack here if Severino is going to have some ownership. Tampa Bay and Boston, Corey Kluber and Brianne Bello. Brianne Bello is a highly, highly touted prospect. He is a very, very good pitcher, has some electric stuff, has been doing really well in the minors, and he probably should be like 7K here. Even though it's his first time out, I think he's stretched out enough, and I think he'll get enough. He should smash his 5K price tag. So I'm going to play him as my SP2 a lot tonight, cash GPP. If you don't feel good with the first, I know Tampa Bay at times can put things together, but they do strike out a lot also. And I think that not really having a book on him in MLB and not seeing him being the first time, I know Fenway is a scary park sometimes with the winds blowing in a little bit, 81 degrees. So it's not going to be like the Great American Small Park or Wrigley, with the weather aiding what's already a decent park to hit in factor. So Kluber on the other side, I'm not really interested in. I think, if you're looking to pay down in mid-range to low mid-range, he's okay against the Red Sox, but Red Sox almost have a 5 total here. So not super interested in there. So Boston as a stack, I think, definitely you can play as a GPP. I don't know why they're not up on the boards because I have Kansas City twice. So where would I put Boston? Let's do this. Let's put Boston against Kluber here. Move Texas down just because they're awkward to stack. And we will put Tampa Bay here against the rookie pitcher as a leverage play. So I think that's where you're looking at them against Bello and Boston, definitely the lefties here. Hopefully I don't see, Devers is back in the lineup. Duran, they'll probably load up Verdugo, they'll probably load up on lefties. You always play JD, he's having a great season. So I think definitely 4 or 5 guys, if you want to stack them in a GPP, works there. St. Louis and Atlanta, Mikolas and Max Fried. Mikolas, I'm not really interested in this matchup. He's more of a reverse splits guy and definitely going against pretty much a power right-handed lineup here. So I think the Braves are a top GPP stack just because of the weather a little bit here, low concerning. St. Louis on the other side would be like one of the top leverage stacks against Fried. They're pretty much right-handed. He's a left-handed pitcher. He's been doing good to keep everybody in check recently. I definitely prefer Nola and Javier over him, but if you want to play him in tournaments against St. Louis, they don't strike out a ton. So it's not something that you're really looking for him to probably have a ceiling game here, but I think, he could definitely be solid enough against them. So like I said, St. Louis bats, leverage stack, Atlanta GPP. Houston Astros and Kansas City Royals, Brad Keller, they have a really low total on the slate here at 2.89. And against Javier is better than the Houston pitcher yesterday, and Houston pitcher yesterday did pretty good against KC. So Houston's got a 5.11 total. So Brad Keller is definitely a fade here, and Javier is definitely probably my second favorite pitcher, and a pivot off of Nola if you want to go with that. Kansas City just makes it a cheap stack. I wouldn't even call them a leverage stack because I don't know if they'll really do well. They've got injuries. Some of the guys are priced up like way too high. It's just like 5.3 for like Witt is just like, I think it's just too expensive to kind of pay for at this point. Even though he's been doing decent, it's clunky to stack. Like maybe Benintendi as a one-off, or still, if you're chasing power from Pasquino, who's brought up and should be a rising star at some point. But then you go back on the other side of Houston here as one of the top stacks tonight. Dodgers are clearly going to be against the pitcher that they're facing, but I think definitely against Brad Keller, Houston might keep the ownership down. Maybe if by playing Bello and like a mid-range pitcher, you could probably stack Houston and the Dodgers. That positionally wise, it works decent, especially on FanDuel. So let's see what you can go there and do there and get creative, but definitely like Houston. San Francisco and Arizona. San Francisco let us down last night with their. I thought they were in a smash spot, but they really didn't do well. Alex Cobb has struggled recently, but I think this is a decent, good right spot for him. Mario Kelly's not a horrible pitcher, so I think you can consider Kelly. They're definitely going to throw the lefties at him. So, but they'll probably much platoon out. So I think here's what I'm going to do here. Because I think I'm going to move San Francisco to the top GPP stack just because they do get platooned out a lot. So it is kind of a little bit risky. And I'll move Atlanta over to one of the top stacks against Mikolas there. So I kind of like that better, rethinking this now. So Kelly's a decent pitcher, but we'll see a lot of lefties here with power. Cobb on the other side, I think will be able to hold the Arizona lineup at bay. So San Francisco, I think, makes a great GPP stack. Just load up on the lefties, but just know that they potentially could get pinch hit for later on. And if a lefty comes out of the bullpen, it'll mix and match there. And Kelly on the other side, Arizona against Cobb, I don't really like them. Like they have some cheap pieces. So, but I'd rather fit in like cheap Baltimore pieces or Pittsburgh pieces, I think, over that. See, final game here. Colorado and the Dodgers, Urania. I think he was pitching for the Twins, and now all of a sudden he's on like Colorado. So definitely a no against this Dodger lineup. They have a 6.32 total. That's like a Coors total. So it looks like this game's in Coors, but it isn't. It is in Dodger Stadium. And it looks like Mitch White is going to get the start after last night. Mitch White only goes about 5 innings, 80 pitches, like not a huge K guy. So he's okay in the mid-range, and we could have used that last night. But on this slate, just not as good. He's right there with Gray and Cobb. Look priced down a little bit. So I think, maybe he will have some ownership there, especially against Colorado. But they don't strike out a ton against righties. So we'll see what happens there, because we weren't really too high on Mitch White yesterday, just with the matchup. Okay, so let's look at some builds, and then we'll get you on the way for your day. So like I said, I'm taking Nola and Bello and cash. That opens up a lot. Then I'm going to stack Baltimore and the Dodgers. So Will Smith or Rushman, whoever you want to put there. Freeman at second base. If you want to go Max Muncy, that's okay. If you pay for Smith, you probably can't get him in. You probably have to go Rushman there, or you might need to take a one-off here. Azura, if he's there. If not, you can probably put Lamb in this spot for the Dodgers. He's third base eligible. Turner, Betts, and then I'm going to fill in with probably 2 more Baltimore outfielders, depending on who's in. If Hayes is in, if I can get up to Mullins, that's fine. Santander, Mancini, lots of options there. On FanDuel for cash, going to take Javier Severino. If I take Javier, then I can get up to like Mullins. I can't get the Mullins. If it takes Severino, I can. So it all depends on like your priority for outfield there. So Freeman, Azura, like I said, you can put Land there. If you want to go Turner, then you have to pay down an outfield for Baltimore to finish stack, or take some one-offs there. Take it like a 2K guy or whatever, however you want to finish that one off. Going for the GPP here. Javier, I'm going Bello again. I understand if you don't want to play him twice in cash and GPP. So, if you want to throw another guy in there, that's fine. Whatever one that you like. I think, I don't know who like the safest second choice for a cheap guy would potentially be. Let me just look at him again here and see what possibly. Oh, probably Cobb, I would say, would be the safest to look at. Here Mitch White, so still you're paying like $3,000 more there, so you're definitely not going to get in the stack. But I'm looking at Houston and Philly here. I want the lefties, so I'm going to go down to Hall. I don't think I can get up to I'd have to drop down Javier if I was going to go up to Hoskins at first base. Probably going to punt catcher here. Shortstop, I can go Pena, I can go Gregorius. Either one works there. And then outfielder, I might have to take a punt, really cheap guy here, or depending on, maybe I get Alvarez and Tucker, and depending on what I do with pitcher. So that's where I'm going. I'm trying to get as much Houston to Philly left-handed bats as possible. And if I need to take a one-off at catcher or shortstop or outfield as a cheap guy to make it work, that's what I'm going to do. But Bello, I think, definitely opens that up for you. And then FanDuel, I know you usually don't want to take the cheapest pitcher for your but he, in this context, I think he just opens up so much. And again, I'm stacking Philly, so Hoskins or Hall here. Maybe I'll play the other one, utility, if I have the money to do it. Altuve, Bregman, then again, you Perez, or if you want to put Gregorius there, Alvarez, Tucker, if you need to go down a little bit, Schwarber, you can throw Castellanos in there. You might just have like a lot of cash left for a one-off here. Like you play Stanton or Judge or somebody like that. There's so many ways to go with this build. By playing Bello, you can get, you can actually stack like 3 teams. So take like 2 Phillies that you really like, and 3 Astros, and 3 of another team, like however you want it. There's many possibilities. So that's today's slate. So I appreciate you watching. Please leave any comments below in the chat, and we'll try to get back to you, or hit me up at MegaRuler31, and I'll see what we can do to help you with your lineup builds for tonight. Again, check back. I always try to post some notes around 6 or 6:30. Last night, 2 pitchers got scratched. I threw that out there, and Naylor was scratched. I threw that out there also. I threw out a weather update. So always come back to the video around 6:30. See if there's any updates, and then from there you'll be able to help correct your lineup so you don't get hung with somebody. Couldn't do anything about Nelson Cruz last night. He was scratched after lock, so it was kind of frustrating, but it happens. So that's what we have. So please like the video, share with your friends, subscribe to our channel so you know when our videos are coming out. And look for our podcast coming up. I'm pretty excited about that. And if you want more information on FSI DFS, you can go to the details in the video and sign up for the full package there. We got tons of stuff, and just invite you to join the community for free, because like there's so many free things coming out too. And Keats is going to be covering Summer League NBA, and not many sites do that. So, check out our website for that. If you're interested to sign up, it's a really low price for it. If for like the whole Summer League season, let me see if I can see what the pricing is on that. It's $20 for the whole Summer League season. Keats does an amazing job finding the plays for basketball. So shout out to him for that. So, if you want to play some NBA hoops over the Summer League and watch some games and enjoy some DFS that way, then sign up for that. Definitely worth your money. You'll probably gain it back in a couple slates, and then the rest of it's going to be all profit. So thanks again for watching. Like I said, McKinley should be back soon, either today or the next day. And I'm MegaRuler31, and you know how to get hold of me if you have any questions. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.